Hi, and welcome to episode 50 of the Give Me a Crown Knitting, Spinning and Bits and Pieces podcast. Today is Monday the 19th of September 2016, and my name's Nina, also known as Give Me a Crown on Ravelry, Instagram, Pinterest, and it's also the name of my Etsy shop. I'm coming to you from a little village in the central west of New South Wales in Australia, and it's lovely to have your company. We have a Ravelry group called Give Me a Crown, and we are currently hosting a colourwork knit along called Give Me Colour KAL. It's also a craft along, so if you want to do some spinning or some crochet that fits the criteria, then you're welcome to join in. We have 4 prizes on offer, and we have, for the finished objects, we've got a ball of stray cat socks, self-striping sock yarn in the Audrey colourway. We have a donated skein from the Black Stump Studio Etsy shop, so that will be a skein of choice for the winner. We also have the Blossom Field shawl pattern that's been kindly donated by one of the group members, Cyberfrog, and we also have for the chatter thread a project bag from the Give Me a Crown Etsy shop. So check out the Ravelry group if you're interested in taking part. There are quite a few other colourwork knit-alongs either going on at the moment or coming up soon, so if you have heard of some that are that can be double dipped into, then feel free to share them in the chatter thread so that everyone can have a few extra chances of winning prizes. Thank you also to everyone who sent me some audio podcast recommendations after last week's episode. They've been very, very warmly received, and I've been adding them to my phone so that next time I go out for a longer drive I can have a bit of a listen and add some of those to my regular knitting influences, or can't think of the right word, but you know what I mean. This week I have a finished object, I've got some works in progress and just a little bit of chatter at the end, so on with the finished object. And it is my autumn spin. So I've called this my autumn and spring spin because the fibre is from Kathy's Fibres. It's a 100% merino yarn fibre, and it was in the autumn colourway, but I've spun it up in spring. It's got lots of very autumn colours in there, and what I did was I broke the braid in two and spun it end to end as 2 singles and then plied it together. The yarn is nice and squishy, so I'm really looking forward to working with it. This has got about 95 grams and it came out at 270 meters or 295 yards, so it's about a sport weight yarn, and I'm not entirely sure what I'll do with it yet, but I think it's going to have some interesting barber pole stripes going on, so I think it might make for a nice hat. Or maybe some mittens, but I don't need mittens too often here. Occasionally, but not that often, so more likely a hat. It's a little bit thick and thin in parts because I was trying out my faster whorl, the faster ratio, or the higher ratio on my jumbo bobbin, my jumbo fly that I got recently. So it's just sort of, I'm trying to get used to how it works. And I used a 12.5 to 1 for the singles and a 9.5 to 1 for the plying. So a little bit slower for the plying, but it's still faster than what my Ashford Traditional Wheels original flyer could do. So it took a bit of getting used to trying to learn to treadle at a slower pace while trying to move my hands faster. So it's a different rhythm to what I was used to, but it was fun to practice, and I think the yarn came out fine. One of the things that I picked up, I think it was last week, was some oil, and this is Ashford spinning wheel oil, and it makes an amazing difference. I had been just randomly trying different types of oils that I had around the house on my spinning wheel to lubricate the various parts of it, and this Ashford one makes a huge difference. It's a clear oil, so I don't know exactly what type of oil it is. They call it spinning wheel oil, but perhaps it's some particular type. But it worked an absolute treat. I used a tiny little amount in a few places, and my wheel started spinning a lot more happily. So I'm definitely glad that I got this, and I've still got to do a little bit of maintenance on the wheel just to fix up the various parts. But now that my latest yarn is off the wheel, I can spend some time giving the wheel the love that it needs. I have a few works in progress, and the first is my Rosie roller socks. So this is a free pattern by Mara Catherine Briner. I haven't made much progress on the second sock. I've just finished up the heel, and now I'm about to do the foot. And it's a fun little pattern. I like the fact that you can just sort of get into the stockinette without having to do any ribbing. Not that I mind my ribbing, as I've said before, but I think for beginner sock knitters it could be a fun pattern to try out, because you sort of get into the guts of the sock fairly quickly. So that one is making a little bit of progress. My next work in progress is my Isla top. So this is the first of my sort of projects for the colourwork Give Me Colour Cal, and my sort of reasoning is that I am alternating two colours in a top, and I know that some colourwork cals have got very specific requirements, but just striping is fine by me. So this is where my top's up to at the moment. I think last week I was up to somewhere around here, and I've been knitting along, and I've now introduced the second colour as stripes. The way that I decided where to begin the stripes was that I was trying the top on, and I knit up to where I needed it to, where I wanted the stripes to begin. But because my swatch suggested that my row gauge is going to shrink, I calculated the length from the top of the shoulder to where I'd knit to, and figured out how many more rows, so it was about an inch more I had to knit in order to make sure that if this whole thing shrinks up a little bit, those stripes aren't going to hit me at a slightly awkward position. So I think I've got it right. Only the washing and blocking is going to really determine whether or not it's correct, but worst case scenario, the stripes are going to start lower down than I intended, but they shouldn't go into that awkward place where it might look a little bit funny. So at the moment it looks fairly tall, but it should sort of shrink up a bit. This pattern has some faux or fake seams, which some patterns have. So you can see there's a purl row, or purl column rather, that makes it look like it's a seam top when it doesn't actually have a seam. Using stripes in purl can cause, I'm not sure if it's going to show it up, but it can cause some little problems because of the way that the purl stripes sort of pick up the yarn. But because it's just one stitch, and because it sort of gets hidden anyway by the way that the fabric sort of bunches up, I wasn't too worried. Originally I'd thought about not actually having the faux seam in there, but I decided to put it in, and then remembered when I got to the stripes that it was possibly something that I could have left out and my stripes would have been neater. But it's probably a good thing that I put it in there, because I'm switching colours at the side, and it's sort of the seam kind of hides the jog of the stripes, because you're technically, when you're knitting in the round, you're actually knitting a slight spiral, and if that seam wasn't there, it might be a bit more obvious where I'm switching from one colour to the next. So lots of pondering on whether or not to rip back and redo this section without the seam, but in the end I think it's actually a good thing that the seam's there because of what I'm doing. If I was doing larger stripes, I would use a jogless stripe method, where there's a few different types that you can find online. I think knitty.com has got some good ones, and there's one other site that I can't remember the name of, but it pops up if you look on Pinterest or Google for jogless stripes. There's a particular site that has some very good techniques for tackling that kind of thing. The Holscarn Coast yarn has been very interesting to work with. I am kind of having to force myself a little bit to work on this, because the cotton content makes it just a little bit coarse on my hands. So it has 55% merino and 45% cotton, but I really like the way that the fabric feels. So when I've been trying it on, I've really liked the way that it sits and how it feels, and the swatch felt very, very soft when I'd washed it. So the roosters are going off again, sorry. I've realised that there's several roosters. There's one in a yard near here and there's one down the road, and they like to call out to each other. So anyway, yeah, so I really like the feel of the fabric, and I'm really looking forward to this top. And I think that I'm definitely going to be knitting this top again now that I've sort of figured out how this whole top construction part works. I really want to knit more of these. I think it's going to be great for summer, but I need to have a think about what kind of yarn to use for it, and I'd probably also just go with a one colour, because I'm not sure at the moment what's going to happen as my stripes keep going down. I'm not sure whether I have enough yarn of the blue just to keep going with the stripes, and then do the lace panel at the bottom with the tawny owl, the sort of creamy colour. Originally I sort of thought that I would just do a section of this stripes and then switch over, but I'm kind of liking the idea of actually keeping the stripes going all the way down to the lace section. So I have to remember that there's actually a what's the word for it? There's a band that goes around the neck band and armhole bands that I have to still do, and I want to do them in the blue colour, because I think with my pale skin, I think that it's going to look a little bit strange if I use the tawny owl colour. So I need to try to figure out how much yarn I need to keep in order to do these bands, and so there's still some calculating and pondering and thinking to be doing. And the reason why I'm not going to just do the bands now is because it says that I should actually block the top first, then knit the bands, and then block it again. So I could just block the top part, sort of dunk that bit in, I guess, and block it. I'll have to think about that. That might actually be a way for me to guarantee that I definitely have enough yarn left over without sort of sacrificing whatever has to happen down the bottom. So lots of pondering and thinking, and it's been fun. My next work in progress is my taskutakki, which is a cardigan by Finnish knitwear designer Veera Välimäki, and it's available also in English in the Colour Wheel Knits book. And oops, sorry, it's growing. It's a bit hard to show, because what this is the sort of the button band at the front. So it will sort of sit like this and not curl. And I'm essentially sort of knitting out this way first, I think, and then I somehow do the back part and the sleeves. So it's a different kind of construction, which is actually a lot of fun. The front panels sort of get wider here, and I'm about to start doing the pockets, which is going to be fun because I've never done pockets before, and this being a sideways construction, I'm really interested to see how the pockets actually work up. And I love this colour. So this is the Junkyard Dog colourway from Miss Click Clack in the Nightman's Highway yarn. And I'm alternating skeins, and because there were some short rows in here and both my yarns were at one end, I was able to do the short rows alternating skeins at one end, but I realised that on the other end I wouldn't have that, so I ended up taking up my third skein of the yarn and I joined it in at the other end so that I could alternate with that, and it looks exactly the same as the other one, so I'm having absolutely no problems with the yarn, which is very, very good to see and makes me very happy. The way that I'm keeping track of my yarn balls, I decided to put some little knots in the tail end. So I'm knitting from a centre pull ball, but I put one knot in here, or technically I think I put 2 or 3 on top of each other so I could feel it. So that one's got 1 knot, so that means that's the first ball of yarn. Second one's got 2, third one's got 3, and the fourth one will have 4. And it means that I can keep track of which ball I'm using where, because my intention is to sort of get halfway through one of these and then swap out one of the other ones so that I'm mixing up where the different yarn balls are. What else? Yeah, I don't think there's much else to say about it at the moment. Oh, I'm running low on detachable stitch markers. I have some metal ones, but they're a little bit heavier, so for the number of them that I'm putting in here, I thought that I'd try a different technique, and I just found some scrap yarn from a past project and I put that through one of my increases, so these increases are happening every so often, and I'm using just little bits of yarn tails, just tying a knot, and I can then snip them out when I'm ready. Yeah, I think that's it. So it's going to take a while to knit this one, but I'm really looking forward to seeing it come together and getting a chance to wear it. It's still pretty cold out here. This morning with the wind chill factor it was about 0 degrees Celsius, so yeah, I might still actually get a chance to wear it before it heats up for summer. I don't have a great deal else, but I have been thinking about my Echoes from Corellia socks that I spoke about a few weeks ago. So I've been having a look at my yarn stash to see what I've got in there, and I found some yarns that I picked up in Finland a few years ago. So I've got 2 sort of big skeins, and I don't know what these are. They're a 2-ply yarn. They're not hand spun because they're very consistent. They feel woolly. I'm sure that there's absolutely no nylon content in these, and they're a little bit thick and thin. So I'm not sure if these are going to work for the socks, but I don't tend to wear my socks too severely, so I'm kind of keen to try them out just to sort of see. But I don't know whether to go for a predominantly dark sock or a predominantly light sock. I've been looking at the different socks that have already been knit from the pattern, and I kind of like both of them, so I'm a bit stuck on that. So one of those could be the main colour, and yeah, I don't remember where exactly I bought these. Whether I bought these from a shop, I don't think so, because of the way that it's sort of very roughly skeined. I have a feeling that I bought these in the same sort of place that I bought this lot. So these all look like the same kind of yarn. And what these were a collection of yarns that I picked up in what in Finland is called a kirpputori. And kirpputori translates to flea market, but it's not the sort of flea market where that's just sort of held now and then and sort of car boot sale sort of style. They are buildings in a lot of towns where they're open most of the week, and people have little stalls inside. Somebody is there at the cash register, and people can sell whatever they want. So I think they pay a small amount to have their sort of little collection of things. It might be a bookshelf with books or plates, or they might be knitting mittens and things. But I found a bunch of these sort of different yarns. So for instance, these were 70 euro cents, and I think that 409 refers to the seller number, so they can allocate the money to the right person. But I sort of picked these up because they were sort of cheap and there was lots of different colours. So I've been trying to sort of figure out which ones have got a good amount of contrast to work with the larger skeins that I have. And I think I'm leaning towards, oops, I'm dropping them on the floor. I think I'm leaning towards either the green with the pinks. Is that a little bit strange? But potentially more likely the white with the pinks. And I don't think I've ever had so many pink socks in my life as what I seem to be accumulating at the moment from all my knitting. But something like that, maybe it needs another colour in there. But yeah, it's interesting. So I think I need to finish up my Rose City Rollers socks first, and then I'll get something cast on. But I'm a little bit worried that these socks are going to not work out if I use these yarns, just because I'm guessing they're 100% wool, and maybe better for things like mittens and what have you. It's a kind of a coarse wool though, so I don't imagine that this would be too good for a hat unless you lined it. So it's got to be used for something. So that's what I've been pondering on. I think that's it for all the nitty sort of things. But as for chatter, I haven't been able to get up to anything too exciting recently. It's been pretty busy, and that suits me fine. I wanted to let people know who are interested in buying anything from the Give Me a Crown Etsy shop that there is an Australia Post price increase in, I think it's the 3rd of October. So on, I think it's the 30th of September, I'll have to increase my prices just a little bit. I think they go up about 30 to 60 cents depending on what shipping method I'm using. So I'll pop those in, but if you're wanting to save yourself a small amount, then get an order in before the end of September and you'll save a little bit. It's not across all of the different types of shipping that I use, but it is for the international sort of flatter packages such as zipper pouches and snap project bags, and also for domestic parcels, so things like the medium project bags. And if you took part in the 1 year podiversary giveaway, then please take a look at episode 47 if you haven't already. One of the prizes has yet to be claimed, so if I don't hear back from that winner in the next couple of weeks, then I will redraw for that prize. So go and check it out. That's it. I haven't had a chance to take any video around town this week, so I'm going to have to end just on me, but I'll try to get some video if the weather starts to play ball with me in the coming week. Yep, I hope that you're well. I hope that you are getting lots and lots of crafty things done, and whether you're preparing for colder times or for hotter, then hopefully there's some sort of craft that's keeping you busy. Come and join the Ravelry group if you haven't, and take part in the Give Me Colour Cal. I'll see you soon.